Welcome to the next video of 4.3, and let's do example number 2 in our notes following the 5 steps that we did before. So a little reminder, step 1 is simplify if you can. If I look at the equation in this example, I cannot simplify this one anymore. I can't factor anything and there's no GCFs. So no simplifying, which means I can just skip that step. Now, here's what I want to do with the next 3 steps. So I want to go through, first off, and remind you, x-intercepts, we set the numerator equal to 0 and solve. Y-intercepts, set x equal to 0 and simplify. And then we have our vertical asymptotes, which is where we set the denominator equal to 0 and solve. Your x-intercept should always be written number comma 0. Y-intercepts are 0 comma a number, and your vertical asymptotes are always x equals a number. So with that in mind, I would like you to pause the video, try to solve for these 3 steps on your own, and then come back and see how you did. Welcome back. Let's see how you did. Our x-intercept should be 1.5 or 3/2, comma 0. I solved it right there if you need to look at it. Y-intercept should be -1, set x equal to 0, so 0 comma -1, and then I graphed my points over here. Vertical asymptote, set the denominator, so we should get -3, and there it is. Now let's talk about end behavior. And one side note real quick. A lot of people call end behavior a horizontal asymptote. So if you see either words, a horizontal asymptote or end behavior, those mean the same thing. The reason a lot of them call the horizontal asymptote because our end behaviors go side to side, which is horizontally. So if you see either one of those, they mean the same thing. Okay, let's compare the degree on top with the degree on bottom. So the degree on top, the biggest exponent is a 1. And I can do biggest exponent. I don't have to add anything together because there's no parentheses. Bottom, no parentheses, so I just look for the biggest exponent, also a 1. So this actually brings us to our second end behavior rule. So we're going to call this end behavior rule number 2. If the degree on top equals the degree on bottom. So if this happens, if the degree on top equals the degree on bottom, then you're going to divide the leading coefficients. And if you remember from last chapter, the leading coefficients are the numbers in front of the exponent with the degree. So here's my degree of 1. I look at the number in front of it. That's my leading coefficient, so a 2. Here's my degree of 1. I look at the number in front of it for the leading coefficient. So that's a leading coefficient of a secret 1. So I divide my leading coefficients. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And I always write it as y equals. And those are the only 2 end behavior rules that we will be doing. There is a rule for when the degree on top is bigger than the degree on bottom, but that's something that they do in honors, so we won't be covering it in our regular class. And last thing, I need to draw my circles. So I'm going to go to y equals 2. Draw my circles at 2 off to the sides. And now I'm done. I have filled in the skeleton or the bones of this graph, and that's all we're doing for this lesson. In the next video, we'll go through and do one more example.